Hey all, trying something new, and we're going to do an anime review today. The anime, OddTaxi. So this show came out in spring of 2021, and it had a really interesting reaction because no one really knew about the show. It was kind of the director was unknown, the writer was unknown, the trailer didn't look anything out of the ordinary, and the studio that produced it hasn't produced a lot of anime in a while. But then the show came out, and it had a lot of people really liked the show. A lot of people were like, "Well, this is the best anime of 2021," and it was only spring. A lot of people thought this. Some people even thought it was a classic already. However, as the hype grew, I think there a bit of a backlash to the hype also grew within the community. People looked at the show and was like, "Really, this show? Yeah, it was fine." Or some people would be like, "Oh, I can't believe you're putting this show with this praise." It was a really interesting reaction, in my opinion, that we're going to go over in this review. But before we do that, let's get into my thoughts. And let me go into the strengths first. The writing is incredible. I love the writing in the show. It really does a good job of giving tension to the mystery, to the moments, the small moments, and it doesn't feel cheap at all, ever. I love the fact that the characters are pretty well written, despite at some points they may seem like one-dimensional characters, but like sometimes I'm fine with one-dimensional characters if they're executed well, and these are executed brilliantly. They work really well. The show has a certain style, and like the mystery works, and it has a feel to it, and and I feel like there are a couple themes that really shine throughout the show. I love how the show deals with technology. It's not in a kind of like preachy way, but it's kind of beautiful. It's kind of like, well, technology is great and all, but there are some really bad downsides and some addiction that can come from it. And that's interesting in the setting where we're dealing. Well, the show's kind of driven by the mob, even though they don't appear much within the show. I will say the style feels like Quentin Tarantino. The running joke within people who watch the show, everyone says this feels like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Oh, this is the anime directed by Quentin Tarantino, right? That's what it feels like. And there are a lot of moments which it does feel like that. If you like Quentin Tarantino movies, you probably will like the show. I will say the dialogue is very heavy. Like there's a lot of dialogue. I think it works, but if you're not a fan of those dialogue heavy shows, then the show might not be for you. But the other thing I really like about the show is it starts off, you have a lot of like moving pieces, and they seem almost like not connected at all. And and you're just enjoying the pieces you have as you slowly get to them. However, the show kind of gets more connected as it goes on, and then a bit more connected, and a bit more connected. And then finally, it all connects at the end. And I think it connects really well. I think the pacing of that is done really well. And I think overall, the technical aspect of the show is brilliant. Now, a bit of a controversial part of the show is the animation. Some people think the animation isn't that good in the show, and I get that because there are moments where it's like, you couldn't spend more budget on this. However, the character design alone makes up for the animation. The character design is brilliant. It adds to the story. It adds to the characters themselves. It makes them more expressive and makes it easier to tell their stories. And while it may not make some people may look at this and be like, why are they animals? Trust me, it's worth it. There's a reason for it, and it just works better this way. I really love this animation style. You don't have to be super detailed to be expressive, and this is a very expressive show. However, there are some flaws with the show. I do think this isn't a show for everyone. It's a good pace, but it's a slow pace. If you don't like slowly paced shows where the dialogue is precedent over the action, you might not like the show. This also is a perfect example of managing your expectations. Because I feel like if you go into the show with the expectations of, oh my God, this is going to be a great show, everyone's telling me so many great things about the show, it's not going to work. You're not going to like it as much. You're going to kind of nitpick it. Trust me, if you go into the show just enjoying it for what it is and not over exciting yourself for it, it's going to work. I don't think that it's just the type of show it is. That's not a knock against the show, but there are certain entertainment that can live up to the hype. Like people can hype it up and then it lives up to it. In my opinion, like there will be people who watch the show and won't enjoy it as much because of the hype. So just manage your expectations. And if you to really see if the show is for you, what I would recommend is I would watch the opening credits of the show. Search Odd Taxi opening. If you're intrigued by those opening credits, you like the vibe the show is putting out, well, give it at least 4 episodes, because episode 4 is one of my favorite episodes of anime in 2021. It's a great episode. And it's the perfect type of episode where it's like, listen, if you love this episode, you're probably going to be on board, and I think you'll enjoy the rest of the show. If you don't like this episode, that just shows the show isn't for you. But I think if you manage your expectations for this show, 95% of people who just enjoy the show for what it is will enjoy the show. If you just look at the show for what it is, not what it's not. Because I think the problem that people get hung up on when they watch Odd Taxi is they kind of look at what it's not instead of what it is. And for what it is, it's a very successful story with great writing, amazing character design, and honestly well-pacing. And I had a lot of fun with it. I would be excited for a season 2, especially based on how they ended season 1. And I think it's a show that only gets better as it goes along, despite episode 4, because I think episode 4 is like up here and everything else is like here. But overall, I think it's a really fun show. And like, if you like Quentin Tarantino movie, this might be a good first anime for you. So thank you so much for listening. I will have more of these anime reviews coming up. And like and subscribe. And I'll see you all hopefully soon.